Good morning. This is Jamey from Stillmark Games, and thematically, for at least a few seconds, I'm wearing an eye patch because today is the day that we finally announced Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, a brand new edition of the classic game Libertalia. Libertalia came out around 10 years ago. I fell in love with it. I've loved it for years. And today and in upcoming days, I'm going to tell the story of how we are printing and have already printed a brand new edition, completely new edition of Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. Um, I need to take this patch off now because I can only see out of one eye. It's very odd, but thought I'd start with a little thematic pirate touch there because Libertalia is very much a pirate game. I'm super excited to announce this. As usual, on announcement day, it's a little hectic because things don't always go exactly as planned, but I think we figured it out. I think everything's up and running now after multiple attempts at the e-newsletter. I don't know if you could tell, I have this up on my other screen here, but originally this announcement, I was hoping to make it in early January. And so I prepared the e-newsletter for early January, prepared all the dates based off of that, and then the game wasn't well, it was ready, but the freight shipment was taking longer than normal because we like to do the announcement and then we'll do the pre-order for this game in 1 month on March 2nd, and then we'll start shipping right away after that. And so the freight shipment wasn't ready on time, so we had some old dates, and also I messed up a Facebook link to the Facebook group for this in the newsletter. But so sorry about the multiple e-newsletters if you got those, but we have it right now, and I'm so excited to be finally talking to you about Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. I'm happy to hear any questions. I may not answer all of them yet because the way we reveal new products is we reveal them slowly over the course of a few days. And so I'll be doing that with this game. Let me see. I'll try to answer some questions really quick. Carlos says he's excited about Libertalia. I'll just keep holding the box. Was it always in your mind to try to do a revised version instead of a reprint, or was that something decided after talking with Paulo Mori? Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you differentiated right from the start between a new edition and a reprint. A reprint is just when you like print the game again. We reprint our games all the time. We reprint Scythe and Viticulture and Wingspan all the time. But a new edition is when we take the game and we look at it and we redo significant parts of it. And that's what we did with Libertalia. Actually, Facebook just scrolled past the rest of your question, so I missed that part, Carlos. But yes, from the very beginning, I wouldn't want to take an older game and just hit print again. We didn't even have the files or the art or anything for it, but I wouldn't want to do that. We wanted to start over, essentially not from scratch, because the foundation was still there, but we wanted to look at every aspect of the game and make it as good as it could possibly be. And so that was the idea from the very beginning. JS says, does it have the same basic mechanisms with more added? And Tom said, when's the pre-order? That's a quick one. That's March 2nd is the pre-order. So I'll talk about this quite in detail over the next few days, JS, but the foundation of the game is here. In Libertalia, you have a hand of cards, same hand of character cards as other players. You simultaneously play one of them and they activate in a certain order. And you gather loot over the course of the game and you're trying to have the most money. Those things are all the same, but there's a lot more stuff in the game. Like there's a solo mode. In fact, that's the kind of stuff I'm going to talk about today. Stuff that you can see from the box that I'm holding up right now. There wasn't a solo mode in the original version. We've also boosted the two-player mode. We've added more characters. We've redone all of the art and all the graphic design, stuff like that. I'll talk about that more in a second. Facebook, when there's a lot of people asking questions on Facebook, it scrolls past questions. So if I miss any of your questions today, let me know and we'll revisit them. Ryan says, was Treasure Planet an inspiration? It wasn't, but we did. I love like floating islands and sky ships and airships and things like that. And so that was the approach we took with this new version, working with amazing artist Lamaro Smith. You can see his name down here, Lamaro Smith. The game is still like the original, designed by Paulo Mori, and I had a lot of fun as the developer of this game. Let's see. Anne says, can I show some more contents, please? I appreciate your curiosity, Anne. Today I'm just going to talk about like what I can share from the box itself, and then in the coming days I will reveal what's inside the box. I'm really excited to show you what's inside the box. Brett asked one of the things that we did was we looked at every aspect, every like review about Libertalia, every post about Libertalia, and Brett mentions one of the things that was very controversial and unfortunate, I think, in the original version. There was a slave character in the original version of Libertalia, and of course, we do not have a slave character in Libertalia. Although, Brett, I should clarify, there was a freed slave character in the original Libertalia, not an actual slave. But either way, we do not have a slave or a freed slave in Libertalia. We have a freed prisoner. And there's not a one-to-one correlation there. We're not saying that prisoners are the same thing as slaves at all, but we just said we don't want to deal with, we don't want slavery in this game in any way. And so there's a freed prisoner instead. Douglas says, this is coming to Brazil. So we have, I don't know. I don't know all the localization partners offhand. Let's see if I can find them. Okay, so our localization partners, yes, it is coming to Brazil. Grok, Forland, that's Germany. Madigo, that's France. Phalanx, that's Poland. Genos Games, that's Italian. Delta Vision, Maldito, Albi, 999 Games, and Surf and Meeple are our localization partners for the first print run of this game. Johnny says, how does this game play with a smaller player count? That's one of the things that we boosted for this game. We added a solo mode, and we added something special to the 2-player mode to make it feel a little bit more like a 3-player game. And I think it plays really well now at all player counts. Let's see. Justin said, did I approach Paulo Mori for this new edition? Or did Paulo approach Stillmark Games? We approached Paulo, and actually, one fun little thing, and again, Facebook is scrolling past a ton of questions here. I love the questions, but feel free to repeat them if I miss it, because I can't see every question. But this game came out of whenever I would post on like Instagram that I was playing Libertalia, the original Libertalia. People would say, "Oh, I wish this game could. I wish this game. Someone would do a new edition of this game, or I wish it could come back in print or back in stock." And that would happen every time I would post about this game. And I think someone at some point said, like, why wouldn't could Stillmark make a new version of this game? And this was around, I would say, maybe November, December of 2020. And eventually enough people said it where I was like, what if we tried to do that? And so it literally the spark came from user comments, and then I approached who I thought, the company that I thought had the rights to the game. As it turned out that no one had the rights to the game except for the designer Paulo, and so I approached Paulo with the idea. Zhao says, I read Sky Pirates. Is this still on water? There is still water. The islands, well, they're floating islands, but also islands in the sea. But it's both water and airborne. Yeah, a little bit of both. Neek says, does it still have a take that aspect? I typically shy away from that mechanism. I'm going to talk about that more in detail in coming days, but like I said, we researched everything that anyone has posted on Board Game Geek about this game, and we have addressed it. We've addressed it. So for people who want to feel like pirates, like Take Thatty pirates in this game, that is an option. But there's also an option in this game to be more peaceful pirates. That's tough to describe in today's video, but I will describe that in much more detail in coming posts. Athir says, Libertalia is amazing. Will this be a streamlined and revisioned? This is a completely reworked version of Libertalia from the ground up. Yeah. Tim asks, so Tim has a non-Libertalia question. He says, how am I and my family doing? So let me put this aside real quick and just mention, I'm very chipper today. I'm definitely very chipper today because I'm excited to talk about this game that I put a lot of love into. And so I don't want to, that is my feeling today. But I do need to let you know that last week I missed last week's live cast because my dad died a couple weeks ago. He died on January 20th. And so I went to Virginia very unexpectedly to be with my family and to help plan the funeral and to go to the funeral and all those things that surround my parent dying. My dad's had cancer for the last year, and so we've had some time to kind of mentally prepare for that possibility. But it did, in the end, come very quickly. It was very sudden. And yeah, that's I've talked a lot about it on my personal blog, my personal Facebook page, even a little bit on the Stillmark Games blog. And so that's where I am now. There's definitely a lot of I'm going through the grieving and mourning process. And I don't want to confuse that with the excitement that I have for Libertalia today. So there are two different things I'm trying to essentially compartmentalize today as I talk about this new game, but also go through. But no, like when I get off camera, I'm going to be thinking about my dad. So thank you for asking about that, Tim. I appreciate that. Charles says, so there are a lot of questions that I may not have to, may not be able to answer yet today about this game. Charles says, are all the characters anthropomorphic animals? And yes, that is the approach we took with this game, with this version of Libertalia. We added more characters and changed all the characters to fit this world. It's an anthropomorphic world with different characters resembled by people like animals, basically. And one little thing I'll throw in there is that the original Libertalia had like 3 female pirates and 27 male pirates. In this version, we actually have more. We tried to go for 50-50. We ended up with a few more female pirates than male pirates, but they all are anthropomorphic. So, and by a few more, I mean like, I'll just say it, we have 40 characters in this game instead of the original 30, and more than 20 of them are female or identify as female. Let's see. So let me share what else is on the box. So we have Automa Factory. That means there is a full, robust solo mode. Art by Lamaro Smith, a different artist than the original version. Same designer as the original version, Paulo Mori. Still plays in about 45 to 60 minutes. And what else do we have? That's pretty much all that we have on the box that I can share here. You can see the art is different world, all of that. Jason says, where does the name Galecrest come from? Who came up with that name and how did it make its way to the game title? I think I thought of the name Galecrest, but we spitballed and brainstormed a lot of different name ideas for what this world could be called. And yeah, the biggest debate was whether or not to put Libertalia in the title. Do we change it to a different game name or not? Because we didn't want people to be confused about whether or not this was like an expansion to the original Libertalia. But I think it's pretty clear that this is not an expansion box, that it is a new game and a new version. I think this title kind of says this is a new version of Libertalia, a new edition. That's at least what we were going for. Kevin says, I think Susanna says it well here. Amazing how humans can feel so many rich emotions all at once. Yeah, that's definitely true, Susanna. Susanna, for those of you who don't know, Susanna is here. Susanna is our new retailer relationship manager. Retailer relationship manager at Stillmark Games. Susanna, she's been wonderful so far. Very new to Stillmark Games, and she is here to maintain and enhance and improve our relationships with retailers, because that's one of the main ways that we get our games to you. Kevin says, when will the Rolling Realms realm for Libertalia be released? I haven't completely decided yet, but I can say that we've already made it. So most likely, I think the highest chance will be it will be at the same time as the pre-order for Libertalia. So on March 2nd, you can pre-order Libertalia Winds of Galecrest and the Rolling Realms realm for Libertalia, the promo realm. Tim says, are Biddy and Walter in it? And I always forget, like, at the moment if they actually are. I am pretty sure they are. If not, there is a cat-like character in the game where they're there. But I'm pretty sure they are in the game. Yeah, I sure hope so. And Christopher asked the same thing. Perfect timing. Berta said, who did the art for this game? And this is artist Lamaro Smith. Lamaro is at least partially from the Caribbeans, which I thought was a wonderful tie to kind of the original Libertalia, which I think was kind of set, Pirates of the Caribbean, that type of thing. But he's a wonderful artist, wonderful to work with. We've never worked with him before, but he has done art for other games too. Skip past a question from Junie. One of the other things that I mentioned in today's e-newsletter, a big mention, is that Dized, D-I-Z-E-D, has a full tutorial now for Scythe. Different game, not this game, for Scythe. And so if you want to learn how to play Scythe, if you have that box on your shelf, you never learn how to play, you can now use this interactive tutorial to teach you how to play. You just set up the game and it will teach you how to do everything from there. It might even help with the setup too. That's from Dies. That's in our e-newsletter. I have the link in the description here. And I think Junie was asking if we would ever want a tutorial done for Libertalia as well. And absolutely, yeah. I love having different ways for people to learn our games, whether it's the rule book, a watch it played video, Dies, any of the many, many ways that you can learn how to play a game. I like giving people all of those options. Joe says, do you still have the evil monkey that ends up destroying me every time I play? We revisited every single character card in this game and added new character cards to the game. So what you're referring to is probably still in the game. but maybe in a slightly different form. Yeah, yeah. I look forward to sharing those characters with you. Steven says, looks like it has box numbers. Will that only be for the first print run? Yeah, typically, so we put the first print in, it's individually numbered boxes, and typically we just do the individual numbering for the first print run. Yeah, but I don't hold me to that because sometimes we do it for other print runs. Like we do it for the Scythe, the metal mechs. Every print run of that, we print the numbers on the boxes. Let's see. Athir says, when I say that this version is more streamlined, I wouldn't actually say that the original version wasn't streamlined. I thought it was a fairly streamlined game. We did do something to help with the onboarding process, though, because in the original game, you start out with 9 cards at the beginning of the game. And I thought that was a bit much. And so I talked with Paulo a lot about that. How can we better onboard players into the first round of the game? And so we changed something about that. You'd start with fewer than 9 cards now. So that was one of the things that we talked about quite a bit. Will says, if we've never played Libertalia, will reviews how to play the original game give us a good idea of what to expect in this one? I would wait for the reviews of this version. So we have advanced copies that have already gone out to reviewers, and those walkthroughs and reviews will be available in 2 weeks. So I mean, you could watch original videos about the original version of the game, but I would just wait a couple weeks. I would for those videos about this actual final version of the new edition. Yeah. Nebraska says, as you have 30 previous characters in the original version with the same power and you add 10, or is it more different? So, yeah, I mentioned this a second ago. We revisited every single character in the game and revised, I think, pretty much all of them. I think every character had at least some form of a revision for this version of the game, and we added 10 new characters. Again, Facebook is skipping past a lot of questions here, so feel free to repeat if I missed your question. Danny says, can I show you the back of the box? The back of the box is right here. I had this marked as an NPC. This is a mass production copy, just so I know which one it is. That's the back that I'll be showing you right now, Danny. Billy, let's see, Christopher says, does the character have a tail? There are characters that have tails in this game. They're all based on animals. They're anthropomorphic pirates in this game. And Joe says, he sees this box's numbers. Does that mean that this is a deluxe edition? This is just the game. We just made one version of Libertalia, but we did make it what I consider to be a very deluxe game, but at a retail price. And so there's only one version of the game, unlike what we did with Red Rising, where we had a collector's edition and a retail version. There's just one version of the game, but I think pretty much every component in this game is deluxeified except for one, and will offer a bonus. I'll mention what that means later on. I don't want to reveal that yet. Almost gave you a spoiler there. Shadi asked, will I reveal the cost? Yes, there will be a price for this game, but I won't reveal it until the pre-order date of March 2nd. Jason says, can I talk about how much new design Paulo contributed to this game? So it was really fun to work with Paulo. We had many long conversations over email about what we wanted to do, what he wanted to do in particular, and I added my thoughts as well for this new edition. And it really, like, we revisited every element of the game, like how the characters worked, how every character worked, how the tiebreakers worked, how the loot tokens work. We looked at just every single element, and we tried to make them as great as they could possibly be for a completely new edition of the game. Yeah. Nigel says, will the current version be removed from Board Game Arena and replaced? So I don't know what Board Game Arena will do with the original version. It's totally their right to keep it if they want. However, Board Game Arena does have the files. I don't want to say that they'll definitely be adding it, but they have the files to add this version to their platform if they want to. I would love for them to do that, especially since they probably have some of the code already there. So the core foundation of the game is very similar. Let's see. Greg says he's not familiar with the original game. Is this like a deck builder or more hand management? That's a great question. I should explain that. The core version of the game is the same, and the way it works is that each player starts out with the same hand, a random hand, but the same hand as the other players, of 6 character cards. And on your turn, you're going to select one of those cards simultaneously with other players and reveal it, and then you'll put it on the board in numerical order, in ascending order. So if someone plays a 1 character, that'll go on the far left. And then if someone plays like a 40, the number 40 character, that'll go on the far right. And then you activate those cards from left to right, and then you gather loot tokens from right to left. And then as you're doing that, you put the character, or some characters go to your ship, some characters just go to your discard pile. And so it's kind of a hand management game where you're doing that, and you do it over 3 rounds. And so any characters that you don't play in the first round carry over to the second round, at which point each player gets a new hand of 6 cards. Again, the same 6 cards. So you're kind of managing your hand from round to round, gathering loot, deciding the exact timing of when you want to play your character versus saving it for later. That's the style of game that it is. Eric says, is the solo AI going to be a classic Automa Factory kind of design? Indeed, yeah, it is an Automa Factory game. It has so what that means is that there is a robust solo mode where you get to feel like you're playing against an intelligent opponent, but you don't have to do all the upkeep that comes with actually running a full other human player, essentially. JS says, is before you play one of the advanced reviewers. Yeah, you can actually look at our website to see all of the reviewers, or who the advanced copy reviewers will be. I'll read them out to you now. Board Game Quest, Thinker Themer, Tantrum House, One Stop Co-op Shop, Covray, I'll stop counting, Terradice Games, Before You Play, Rado, and you'll also see coverage from it on Watch It Played, The Mill, and Tim Chuan's channel. Tim is the photographer of this game. Lindsay says, will there be miniatures? I haven't revealed the components yet, so I won't say that. But this isn't a game that really needs miniatures, so I think that's unlikely. But we did do some fun things with the components. Mark says, how big will the game box be? Is it the same size as other Stillmark games? And yeah, it's the same size as like Red Rising. It's the same size as Wingspan, kind of our standard square box size. And the box is full of stuff. There isn't much air at all in this box, and really the air that's there is only there so that you can sleeve the cards if you want to sleeve the cards. There's room for that. Robert says, does this still play for 6 people? Yes, it's really hard to see here, but yes, this is a 1 to 6 player game, and it's a game that plays in pretty much the same amount of time, no matter what player count, similar to Between Two Cities, Between Two Castles, because it's a simultaneous game. You're activating, or you're playing your cards, selecting and playing your cards simultaneously. Let's see. Abigail says, what's special about this game that made you add it to my game list? I made us want to pursue a new edition. That's a great question, Abigail. I mean, from the first time I played Libertalia, I just thought it was a supremely clever game, and that you have this mechanism where you have the same cards as other players. You have the same information, but you're choosing exactly when to play those cards. And the timing of that and how they activate in a specific order is just really satisfying. I love games where you get to feel a little sneaky, and there's a little bit of sneakiness in this game. And it's also a game where you make a lot of forward progress. There is a little bit of like piratey stuff in this game where you might take something that another player wanted, but you're always gathering more stuff. It's a very rewarding game in that way. And it plays so smoothly. Like it just, there's hardly any downtime at all. I love the smoothness of the play. Yeah, there are other games that have some of these other mechanisms, like this idea where you're revealing a card and then activating it in order as the other players who play similar cards. Like Mission Red Planet has something very similar to that. But there's something special about Libertalia that I think makes it kind of the cream of the crop of that style of game. Julie says, how would I describe the balancing act of keeping changing elements to an existing game? Yeah, it was a really interesting process because I haven't done that before. I mean, we have new editions of like Viticulture. We have the Essential Edition is essentially a new edition of the second edition. So I have revisited past games, but this was a game that we hadn't published. The Libertalia is not one of our games, and revisiting it from fresh eyes, from 9-10 years later, and looking at the game and looking at what worked and what didn't work, and what we can make better. It was just a really neat process to dissect every single element of the game and say, well, how can we make this the best it can possibly be? And it was awesome to see how open Paulo was to that. That's particular. Like, Paulo is an incredible designer. He's designed many amazing games. And for him to put aside all ego and say, hey, yeah, let's look at every element of this game and make it as good as it can be, even though he had already put in the work on the original game, was incredible. I think that's really tough to do, to put aside any form of ego and say, can we dissect every version of this game to make it as good as it can possibly be? Yeah, it's just a really selfless thing, I think, for Paulo to do. So he's definitely looking out for you, the gamer, and doing that. Someone asked, is this a Kickstarter game? No, we don't do Kickstarter at Stillmark Games. This is a game that we have already made. It's already arriving at our fulfillment centers. And when you pre-order it from us on March 2nd, it will start to ship to you within a few days or at most a few weeks. So you don't have to wait for many, many months to get this game. You'll be able to get it in March. Yeah. Let's see. Igor says, will this have more loot than the original? Uh, you'll see soon. My answer is, I'll say yes. But that yes involves more context that I will give you soon, but not today. Some very specific questions about components. Scott asked about the insert. Yeah, so anything other than the box, that's what's on the box, isn't stuff that I will talk about today, like what's in the box, but I look forward to sharing that with you in the coming days, for sure. Let's see. Nabaska says, so if you start with only 6 cards, do we have fewer days per week or some twist added? I'll also explain that more in detail soon, but it is still a 3-round or a 3-voyage game, as we call it now in Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. And it's yeah, it's hard to explain on the fly, but I'll explain that in the coming days, how that onboarding process works in the game, how we've kind of made that first round a little bit easier to get into, but you do not run out of cards, basically, is something I should say, because of something that we've done to tweak the number of turns per round, so that you always have the possibility of carrying over more cards to the next round, which is a big part of the game. Chad says, did this game inspire your Sneaky Games video that I recently posted? It did, yeah. I think I mentioned Libertalia on my Sneaky Games video because I love the little feeling of sneakiness in this game. Libertalia is a game of secrets. You are playing a card that no one else knows what it is, even though you have enough information to kind of infer what other cards other players might be playing. And that's important. There's a lot of player interaction in this game because you're constantly thinking about what the other players might be doing in relation to the card that you're playing. Scott says, is there some kind of storybook or lore book for the world? There isn't. A lot of it's done through the art, but there is some text about the world in the rulebook itself. Cameron recommended the game Campy Creatures. Yeah, I haven't tried that yet, but I do need to try Campy Creatures. It sounds like it has some similarities to Libertalia, but as you say, a more party level complexity. Christopher says, was the fact that you uploaded a favorite mechanism video of Mission Red Planet this week a clever nod or a complete coincidence? It was a clever nod indeed, yeah. Let's see, just scrolling through looking for questions. Again, if I missed your question, feel free to post it again. I didn't ignore it unless you're asking for me to describe something that's in the box, but I'm not going to go into specific components that are in this box today. Andre says, what was the trigger to revisit this game? Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again because it was you all. It was people saying that they loved Libertalia and they saw how much I loved it. And people kept saying, would Stillmark Games ever consider making a new edition of Libertalia? And enough people said it that at some point I was like, yeah, why not do that? Like, we've never done that. We like to experiment with things. And so let's see what that process would look like. Yeah. Chuck says, so is this an update and a reprint of the original? So it isn't a reprint. A reprint is just when you make more copies of a game. This is a completely new edition of Libertalia, where we've looked at every aspect of the original game, and we've enhanced it, we've refined it, we've added to it, and the result is Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. Zach says, depending on how well this game does, have I thought about doing this with other games? I would say it's an ongoing thing. So it's something that we are open to doing with other games, but I don't have like another specific game in mind to do this with. I think in general, games go out of print for a reason, but I don't think that's the case with Libertalia. I think this game is a great game, just as good of a game now as it was 10 years ago, especially with this new version. And I hope there's still going to be a significant amount of demand for this game because we made a lot of copies of it. Yeah, I really believe in this game, and I think it's going to resonate with people. Justo says, what other well-known games is this similar to? Mission Red Planet is a pretty good corollary to it. What other games? I actually just I filmed a video in advance to talk about this. So Mission Red Planet, definitely. The King is Dead has some similar elements to it. Ink and Gold has some similar elements to it. And The Grim Forest are some games that are kind of in this realm. Jason says, can I show you the sides of the box? Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to show you the sides of the box. So we have vertical and horizontal sides, so you can decide on your shelf how you want to orient it. Um, yeah, there's the sides. Elaine says, will games be in the Canada fulfillment warehouse by the pre-order date? Yeah, we are well on target to make sure it arrives in Canada. Obviously, weird things can happen with freight shipping, but and the games haven't arrived yet at the fulfillment centers, but they are on the way and are scheduled to arrive in February, well before the fulfillment or the pre-order date. Yeah. Alex says, "Will this be localized in other countries?" Yes. The first print run. Oh, so the first print run is just English, but then the first localized print run is already in the works, and it includes a bunch of different languages, including, let's see, here's my list: Brazilian Portuguese, German, French, Polish, Italian, Hungarian, Spanish, and Dutch, and Chinese, and Czech. Those are the languages for the first localization. Donna says, how well does it play at 2 players? Well, actually, some of the feedback about the original version of Libertalia was that it didn't play great at 2 players. And so we've actually added something special to this new edition of the game to boost 2-player play. And I think it actually plays really, really well at 2 players now. Yeah. Let's see. Chris says, will he be able to try out Libertalia at TantrumCon in Charlotte? Tantrum House does have a copy of the game, and so it would be okay for them to share their copy of the game at TantrumCon, depending on the timing. I don't know exactly when the convention is, but so they do have a copy, but it's just their one advanced copy that they have that they might be able to share there. Yeah. Gino says, does the game have a campaign mode? We did consider that. We talked about it, but no, we decided not to put a campaign mode in the game. I love that people are excited about campaign modes, but I also think there are plenty of campaign games out there. And so we just wanted to focus on a core, very replayable game, and there's no campaign mode in it. A lot of people are asking about the differences between this and the original game. And I'm going to go into detail on that in the coming days. My overall answer right now is that we looked at every single aspect of the original game and found ways to improve, update, and enhance it. From the art, new artist, Lamar R. Smith, from the number of characters. I mentioned today that there are 40 characters instead of 30, and we looked at every single character card and redesigned at least some element of every single character card. And then we looked at every other mechanism and did that as well. And so everything is different. The foundation is very similar, but everything about the game is updated and enhanced and improved. Yeah. And I'll talk about the specifics of that in the coming days. Yeah. I just missed a question about Rolling Realms. If someone could repeat that question, that would be awesome. Facebook has scrolled past it. Nick says, how much of a different experience is it working with someone else's design that you love versus an original idea? Yeah, it's very different. I've worked with a lot of designers. As a developer, I've worked with other designers on their games, like Pendulum and Wingspan and other games that we have, My Little Scythe, that were designed by someone else. So I've had that process. But to go off of an existing published game was a very new experience. And it was just awesome to see how open Paulo was to examining every single aspect of the game to make it better. For me as a designer, it was really helpful to know that we already had something that we knew worked and that I already loved. I already loved the original Libertalia, and to play off that was a lot of fun. Edgar had a question about square cards. I think he was talking about Pendulum, maybe, Edgar. That's where we have square cards. I don't know about where to find card sleeves for that, but if you post in the Pendulum Facebook group, someone might be able to help you out with that. Tony says, the most important question is, are Walter and Biddy in the game? Someone asked that earlier, and I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty sure I reminded the artist to put them in the game, but I can't remember exactly where. And if, at the very least, if they aren't, there is a cat-like character in the game, which is a nod to them. Robert says, one thing I don't like about the original Libertalia is the disparity in final scores. Was that something that you considered? He says, I have like 70 points, but my friend has 30. We did consider this, and I think scores are going to be a lot tighter in this version of the game. Not necessarily because we said that's an objective, but because of the mechanisms that we refined for this version of the game. In general, as a design philosophy, I'm okay with fairly big gaps in scores. because I think I like it when a game can be really really tight, but I like it also when a player can essentially play better than another player and their score reflects that. So I think there's a little bit of that, but a 40-point gap in Libertalia is a pretty big gap, and I don't think you're going to see that in this version. Yeah. Let's see. Jeremy says, can I talk about the robust solo mode? So, Jeremy, I don't know if you're familiar with our Automa system, or not our Automa system, but so there is a full rulebook just for the solo mode, and there's a full deck of cards just for the solo mode, and there's a whole system designed essentially to replicate an intelligent opponent that you're playing against, even though it's autonomous. There's very little work that you need to do to run that opponent, but it feels like you're playing against an intelligent opponent. Jeremy, you're a reviewer. I'm sure you've played some of the other Automa modes in our games, and if you have, then you know what I'm talking about when I talk about robust. It isn't just like a little line in the rulebook. It's a full separate rulebook for the Automa mode and a full deck of cards designed specifically for the Automa mode. Yeah. Steven says, what problems did I encounter while doing a complete rebuild of an existing game that you haven't produced previously compared to those that you typically run into the design of a Stillmark game? What did we run into? I wouldn't say there were many major problems we ran into. Like, it was more of a case of, hey, we have this game that we know works really, really well. How can we make it even better? And we threw a lot of, like, I threw a lot of ideas at Paulo. He threw a lot of ideas at me. And over time, we kind of figured out which of those ideas were worth pursuing and which weren't. That was, even that I wouldn't call problematic, but that was the one big piece of the puzzle of figuring out, like, we could do anything. What do we not do? And what do we focus on? Yeah. Let's see. Tim says, would I consider a campaign expansion similar to Rise of Fenris? For this game, for any game, Tim, I guess there's always the possibility of doing a campaign expansion. And if we ever do an expansion for Libertalia, that's probably what we will do, because it's really tough to expand this game because the character cards are numbered 1 through 40. You can't really put in more character cards unless you go above 40, and that can interrupt with the balance as well a little bit. So we don't have any expansion. Like, we put everything we had into this game. There's nothing that we set aside for an expansion, and perhaps someday we could consider a campaign expansion, but we haven't even thought about that yet. Yeah. Nebraska said, what do I consider the biggest difference between the old and new version? There's so much. I mean, everything is different. And what's the biggest difference? Yeah, it would be a little bit of a spoiler for me to say it already, but you'll almost have to judge for yourself as I reveal all the stuff that's in this game over the next couple of days. You might have to see what you think is the biggest difference, because a lot of stuff has changed and been updated. Yeah. Josh says, not to get into the specifics, but can I give us the name of one of my favorite new or reworked crew members? Let me say that for the design diaries, because that's when I'll go through the crew members in detail and share what they are. Yeah. Let me wait until then. And we have renamed a lot of them too. So many of them have different names than the originals. Chad says, has my no rounds preference for Stillmark games weakened after producing Wingspan, Rolling Realms, and now Libertalia? Yeah, I mean, the general idea of my preference to have no rounds in a game is for the flow of the game, that you just play turn after turn until the game ends. There's no artificial construct of the game coming in and saying, hey, you have to stop and do game-like things right now. But sometimes that's a good thing. Like, I think that's a really good thing in Wingspan that we have rounds in Wingspan. I think it's a good thing in Rolling Realms that there's a breaking point where you wipe what you've done so far and do something new. Although I do also enjoy just playing a single round of Rolling Realms. And Libertalia, I think the game benefits from that, because one of the key choices in Libertalia is which cards do you choose not to play this round so you can save them for the next round. And that starts to create some differences in the hands, because all the cards in your hand that you gain at the beginning of each round are the same between all players. All players will gain the same character cards. So the differences start to emerge as you don't play and thus retain cards from round to round that other players don't retain and keep. And so I think that's an asset to the game that you have rounds in that way. And it isn't a big artificial construct. It's a short breaking point where you do a little bit of accounting and then you move on to the next round. So maybe I am softening a little bit in that regard. Yeah. Juso says, what animals are there as characters? A lot of different animals. So I'll have to wait till I show you the character cards to show you all the different animals that are in the game. Alan says, will the Rolling Realms realm for Libertalia be available with the release of Galecrest? And I will say that it is ready, and almost definitely we will release it at the same time. I think that will just make it easier for you to pre-order that realm, that promo realm, at the same time as this game. Navia had a very similar question there. Melissa from Tantrum House confirmed that they will have their advanced copy available to play during TantrumCon. That's awesome, Melissa. Thank you for confirming that. Tantrum House is also doing a review in the 15th. On February 15th is when we will start to see reviews of the advanced copies that I've already sent out for Libertalia. I think reviewers got this. Melissa, you can confirm this, but I think reviewers got the advanced copies way back in December. That's how long freight shipping takes now. We were able to very quickly get the advanced copies to reviewers, and then we had to wait a long time for freight shipping. Josh says, are these going to be numbered first print runs? Yeah, this is where the numbering will go on the first print run copies of Libertalia. Allie says, what's the recommended age for this? Is there a lot of reading required? You will need, everyone who plays will need to be of a reading age because there is text on every card and there is private information. So you have your own hand of cards. The one boost there, the one benefit is that everyone has the same hand of cards, or at least gains the same characters. And so you could read them out. And if you have a player who can't read all that well, but can memorize very quickly, then that could work out. But we put 14 plus on the box just for kind of for legal reasons. But I think as long as someone is playing who's maybe 8 or 9 years old who can read, they can definitely, it's a friendly enough game for them to play. Yeah. But there is hidden information, a little bit of hidden information. Guami says, do pre-orders for this open at a particular time? Yeah, we're planning to open the pre-order on March 2nd and start shipping immediately after that. We've already made the game. We're ready to ship it to you on March 2nd and soon after in the days that follow. Julie says, you mentioned the artwork differs from the original. What guided the look you or the artist was hoping to achieve for this new version? So the original version, in fact, I have the original version right here. I can hold that up. The original game looked like this, and it had really cool art, really cool pirate art. It kind of fit the Pirates of the Caribbean time. That movie was big then. Really, really cool art. But I wanted something maybe a little less dark. It looks really dark, and so that's why we went with kind of a brighter blue, lots of blues, and that was kind of the instructions that I gave to Lamaro. But Lamaro, this is kind of Lamaro's style. I didn't ask him to go after a certain style. I wanted Lamaro's style that he is so good at. So kind of just ran with his style. I just asked for kind of brighter colors. Yeah. And Lee's just says, do I own the original myself? Yeah, that was the original game that I just held up. And have I played it for many years? Yeah, this was actually one of the first modern games that I owned, Libertalia. Yeah, got this. I think it came out in 2012. I think I got my copy in 2013, maybe 2014. Yeah. And I have also played more recently the new version, the old version. The new version yet isn't on Board Game Arena yet, but I have played the old version on Board Game Arena. Let's see. Tim says, have I seen the Red Rising playing cards on Kickstarter? Yeah, I did see them. Yeah, it's kind of news to me. I didn't know they were doing that, but yeah, I did see them on Kickstarter recently. Let's see. Jason says, I noticed that Vincent Dutrait, famous artist Vincent Dutrait, is listed on the staff and contributors page on the Stillmark Games website. To my knowledge, he hasn't done artwork for Stillmark Game. Can I comment on that? Yeah, so one of the things that we mentioned on that page is that some of the people on that page have worked with us, but we haven't revealed what they've done for us yet. And so that was a very acute observation that you made there. I won't reveal yet what work Vincent Dutrait has done with us, though. Chuck says, if everything has changed in the game, will it still play the same as its predecessor, or has the gameplay changed significantly too? Aspects of the gameplay have definitely changed, but the core aspect of having a hand of cards, the same hand of cards of other players, simultaneously choosing one, playing them and activating them in a certain order to gain loot, all that foundation is the same, but a lot of the aspects of how those things work have changed from the original. Yeah. Gino says, would love to have an art lore book for this in the same way as Scythe. Any chance for that? We don't have that in the works, but it's requests like that make me decide whether or not to pursue something like that. Yeah. Tim also asked, when can we expect the Libertalia promo realm for Ruling Realms? The plan is to release it on the same day as the pre-order, which will be March 2nd. Tim also asked, would you ever consider releasing a batch of realms? And I think probably not. No, I think we'll release them one by one over time so that there can be, a little bit of excitement every time we have one. But also, we don't want to ever make anyone feel like they need to buy one right away. It's easier to consolidate shipping with other things. And so we will make sure we have plenty. So whenever we release a new realm, you can buy it or you can wait a little bit and buy it whenever you're ready to order something else from Stillmark Games. Yeah. Jason says, do the Red Rising playing cards on Kickstarter violate our exclusive tabletop rights to the IP? I don't think so. I mean, there's probably an argument to be made either way there, but I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. It's not. I mean, a deck of playing cards is and is not a tabletop game. Um, yeah, it's not a big deal. I wish them the best with the campaign, and I wish the best for anything related to Red Rising. I want to see cool things from the Red Rising world. Pete has a question about some of the things on. Let me see if I can answer this, Pete. He's asking about specific code names. Um, so Pete, yeah, I did drop some things from the chart a little bit because some things just were not making progress, and so it's a progress chart. And so I removed some things from the chart that I will still happen someday, but because they're not making progress right now, I didn't want to keep them on the chart. Yeah. Dan says, how much are the rights to games on average? Not trying to be nosy, but wondered. That's all. So that's one of the key things about Libertalia. We actually didn't need to acquire this game. This was a game that no company had the rights to it. The only entity that had the rights to it was Paulo, the designer. They had reverted to him after no one else had reprinted or gotten the rights to it from a publisher. And so all I did was reach out to Paulo and say, hey, would you want to work with me to make a new edition of this game? And he said, yeah. And so, yeah, we just decided to work together on it essentially, and we'll be paying like we do with any designer. We pay Paulo royalties on revenue received from this game. Yeah. Steven says, when can we expect the next video on more information? So the next information will be unraveled through text, through written text. So I'm going to write design diary post over the next couple weeks. They'll be posted on the Stillmark Games website, on Facebook and on Board Game Geek. Those are the three places that I post. I'll post it every morning. Yeah. Tim mentioned, yeah, so let me take a little break from Libertalia. I'll come back to it in a minute. But today I'm going to do a live stream in the Rolling Realms Facebook group, and I'm doing something a little bit different today, where a fan of Rolling Realms asked me if I would play a round with 3 fan realms. And so if you go to the Rolling Realms Facebook group and want to play with me, so these are 3 realms designed by fans of Rolling Realms. There's Orleans, Lost Cities, and Lost Ruins of Arnak. I'm going to be playing with these realms today instead of the printed realms, instead of the official realms, just for fun, just to see how that goes. So Ben requested these realms, and I'll be playing them today live in the Rolling Realms Facebook group, probably around 1 o'clock Central Time. Yeah, if you want to join me. And if you go to the Rolling Realms Facebook group, you'll see a post about this with a link to that document if you want to print out and play along with me live today in, 2 hours? About 2 hours. Tom says, how quick will Libertalia be to learn? It's very quick and easy to learn. I think it's a very, very easy game to learn. Okay. Let me jump back and forth a little bit because I want to talk about some other things in the e-newsletter real quick. So one big thing that I wanted to mention in the e-newsletter is that if you sign up for a launch notification for the March 2nd pre-order for Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, we're going to donate $1. And this is our money. This isn't your money. This is before you pay us anything for the game. We're going to donate $1 to an organization called Sea Shepherd. Their goal is to defend, protect, and conserve the oceans of the world. Which we think is an admirable and thematically appropriate theme for Libertalia. So if you want to contribute to a good cause, you don't have to actually contribute anything other than to say on the form that you want a launch notification request, that you're requesting a launch notification email when we launch the pre-order for Libertalia on March 2nd. So there's that. The featured product of this month, I'm looking over here at my second screen of the e-newsletter, was the extra research dice, science dice for arts and architecture. So we didn't have these ready when we released the expansion in December on our web store, but we have them now. And so if you go to our web store, you want extra dice, so you can give like 1 die per player. Those dice are available on our web store now. Also, I mentioned earlier that there is a full diced interactive tutorial for Scythe now. So if you've been wanting to learn how to play Scythe, there's now an interactive tutorial that can kind of walk you through how to play step by step in a really, really nice way. That's Dized, D-I-Z-E-D. And that's available in a couple different formats. Also, the retail release date for Tapestry Arts and Architecture, the new expansion to Tapestry, is this Friday, February 4th. So if you're waiting to get that from your local or preferred retailer, you'll be able to get it on Friday. I also posted recently about our 5-year plan. So my Monday blog post this week was about the 5-year plan for Stillmark Games. So if you want to see kind of the big picture plan, what we're continuing to do, and what we're hoping to do, feel free to check out that post. I also did a post recently about the game inside the game. This is a cool concept that I heard online where whenever you're playing a tabletop game, you while part of you is like, you have your own goal for the game. You're trying to win. You're trying to have fun. There's also kind of the meta game of, and I love this phrase, but there's also the game of being invited to play more games. I love that concept. That I think that's so important to keep in mind when we're playing games. That we all have those moments where we get a little pouty, we get a little frustrated in the game. But kind of keeping in mind how that impacts the other players at the table, because hopefully you can interact with them in such a way that they want to play games with you in the future. And I love that idea. I love the game inside the game, or the meta game of just being invited to play more games with more people. I love that. And also in the effort of inclusivity of welcoming more people to the table, the way that you act at the table also welcomes other people to play with you. I love that idea. Some other quick things real quick. Oh yeah, one thing that I was really excited about yesterday. I don't know if you are a fan of Terra Mystica. I love the game Terra Mystica. And they have accepted ideas for fan-created factions, similar to what we're doing with Rolling Realms. And so a long time ago, last year sometime, I submitted an idea I had for a faction called the Atlanteans. And they accepted it. And so yesterday they revealed what that faction looks like. It's on Board Game Geek if you look at this big long thread about Terra Mystica. And it made my day to see that they considered my idea and brought it to life, and it looks really, really cool. The idea is that you essentially start with a city, like the city of Atlantis has risen from the waters. You start with a city, and then instead of trying to build a bunch of little cities like you typically do in Terra Mystica, you just try to build that empire. You try to build one giant city, and you get bonuses as that city gets bigger over the course of the game. I'm just really excited to see that. Other quick topics. So I think those are the big things. Let me see if there's anything else on my list before I'll end with some more questions. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's end with other questions about Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. Mark says, will there be previews of the Libertalia promo realm too? Yes, I will mention that in one of the upcoming design diary posts. Definitely. Ali says, the newsletter mentioned that it was in the same universe world as another Stillmark game. Can I share which game that is? Same universe. I don't think, Ali, that might have been, I might have mistyped that. Maybe you misread that. But the one thing I can think of that you're referring to is that I updated the Which World image on the Stillmark Games Facebook page yesterday, and I mentioned that to have an even number of 14 images on that post, we only have 13 games, and so we had to duplicate one game within those images. Is that what you're referring to? Because basically, Galecrest is a new world. We don't have any other game that shares a world with Galecrest. Okay, here's a repeated question. Okay, Sigurd, I answered that question about Codenames dropping off the progress chart just because they weren't making progress. But we still hope to make those games. Kevin says, could 7 to 12 people play in the same game with 2 copies of the game? No, no, they couldn't. No, the game does max out at 6 players. Libertalia does. Nabert says, will there be a German language version? And yes, our German partner has confirmed publicly that they are making a German version of the game, or we're making a German version of the game with them. Landon says, I just got my Rolling Realms and I'm excited to play it. If they like it, I look forward to collecting all of the promos. Are there any plans to bundle them to make it easier to collect or slightly more affordable? So the affordable part, yes, we're addressing, but no, we don't plan to bundle them. We'll offer them separately. But affordable, yes, we are hoping to, like the standard price for a promo pack. I'll show you what a promo pack. So here's what a promo pack looks like for Rolling Realms. This is $5. That's the standard price. However, we are hoping to offer, depending on the realm, a variety of other ways to get it. Like when we offer the Libertalia promo realm, because it's with this pre-order, we might offer it for only a couple dollars, maybe $2. I don't know. We don't have a price for it yet, but we're hoping to. We've set that kind of price ceiling, and then we're going to offer lower prices, and sometimes even very close to free. We might offer it. Like if you pre-order this game, you get this promo for free, that kind of thing. So we're trying to keep your budget in mind, because quickly the cost of the promo realms will exceed the cost of the game itself, which we don't want to do. Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen at some form, but we want to be aware of that and aware of your budget and your wallet. Philippe says, would I consider this a version 2? So, Philippe, this is a completely new edition of the original Libertalia, where we looked at every single aspect of this game and we refined it, we enhanced it, and we improved it for a completely new edition of the original game, Libertalia. Yeah. Um, Nadia says, I might not be able to talk about this, but while I share the process of what went into making changes and adapting the game into the Stillmark Games universe. I will talk about that in detail in the Design Diary post, but the core of it is were a lot of talks with Paulo Mori and a lot of playtest of the game to figure out what was working among the many, many changes that we made to this new version. Yeah. Susanna said that she just started reading Red Rising. I'm always happy to hear that when someone learns about Red Rising from the board game and starts reading the books. And I'm glad you're enjoying that, Susanna. Chad says, is it possible to get a video interview with you and Paulo talking about producing the game? Maybe Dusty can host. It's possible we might do a video about that at some point, but I do know that Paulo has written up some of his thoughts, and I'm going to be incorporating those thoughts in my written Design Diary posts over the next couple of weeks. Would I consider working with Paulo on some new games? I would. Yeah, I would love to work with Paulo on a new game someday. He really is an incredible designer. He's known for a bunch of different games. One of his more recent games that I really enjoy is Blitzkrieg, which I think just came out with a new version. Maybe it's called Hail Caesar. There's a new version of Blitzkrieg that came out. He's an incredible person, incredible designer. Tony, okay, sorry, Tony, I must have missed your question. He says, can I give some details on how the Stillmark Games Champion program works now? He's particularly interested in continuing some champion when this game releases. So the core of it, Tony, I mean, most of it's in the newsletter that we sent the champions the other day. So let me bring that up to make sure I don't miss anything. But we've changed the behind the scenes system for how you can sign up to be a champion. It's right on our website. You just click sign up. It's like an item that you add to your cart now rather than something else. And we've changed the payment processing system a little bit, but it's all kind of behind the scenes. So if you are interested in being a champion, what that means, and Tony, you're already a champion, so you already know this, but you get a 20% discount on everything that you order from our web store for a year. And the standard cost for being a champion is $15. So you pay $15 once, and for the entire year, you get 20% off everything you order from the Stillmark Games web store. Also, whenever there's a pre-order, your champion stuff is shipped first within each region. So all champions in the U.S. will ship first before non-champions in the U.S. And you also get a special e-newsletter, and that's what I'm referring to now with Tony's question. Basically, Tony, if you're a current champion, we'll send you an email when your membership ends with instructions on how to sign up for the new champion system. It'll just be you go to our website and you click on the sign up for a champion thing. But there won't be any interruption in your champion membership or anything like that. Yeah, we'll make it very easy. Basically what we had to do the other day is cancel PayPal's recurring system for any champion that has signed up for PayPal because we didn't want people to continue to get charged on that old system as we port over to this new system. Yeah. Greg says, Tapestry Arts and Architecture is not available right now in Canada. Does that mean it is not available, or is it just not available in my region from the web store? So, Greg, sometimes we do run out of stock of our products in different web stores, and it sounds like that's the case in Canada. And so I'll make a note about that. I think Joe already knows about it, but we'll make sure we get more back in stock up there. We still have it in stock in the US, so we should be able to restock some copies up there. Anton says, do I see correctly that the characters are animals in this one? Yes, they are anthropomorphic sky pirates in this version of Libertalia, this new edition. Let's see. Jason says, will design diaries begin tomorrow? How many design diaries are planned? You know, it's a fairly flexible process. They will begin tomorrow. In fact, I'll post this video today as today's design diary. But I post one every morning, pretty much. And I kind of just go until I'm done talking about the game. It's usually around 7 to 10 posts. Usually it brings us right up until February 13th, which is when reviewers can start to share what the game is. And then full reviews, like opinions, will be, people can start posting them on February 15th. Yeah. So typically that's around the time that I'll stop doing design diaries, once everyone knows what's in the game. Mark says, Mark is asking for if I will confirm a clue that I gave before, but I won't do that, Mark. Yeah. Allie says, for Rolling Realms, would I ever sell packs with the original realms only? I'd like to mail sets to family without purchasing the entire game again for remote game nights. That's an interesting question, Allie. That would take some interesting packaging. I think it's fairly unlikely we'll do that because like it's actually a pretty good deal to get the core game of Rolling Realms compared to the cost of the promo packs. The promo packs cost $5 for one realm. In Rolling Realms, you get 11 different realms for up to 6 players for $20. So I think probably the way we'll do it is encourage people if they really want to share it with a bunch of other people, they just buy another game and they send those realms to different people. I think that's probably the way we'll do it, but I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate you letting us know. And in special circumstances, we might be able to make exceptions for that, but I don't think it'll be a listed product in our web store. Yeah. Jake says, I remember you mentioned that you weren't reprinting this. Is that because you rehauled the game? Yeah, reprint is just when you click print on a game that you already have. So like if we had wanted to reprint Libertalia, we would have just gotten all the files for this game and asked the printer to make them. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to really examine every single aspect of the game and update it and refine it and enhance it. And that's what we did with this game. This is a completely new edition of the game, not a reprint. Yeah. I know that's kind of getting into semantics, but I think there's a pretty big difference there. Like the term reprint just means you're making more of the game. And we reprint our games all the time. I reprint Viticulture and Wingspan and Scythe all the time. But it's very rare that I make a completely new edition of a game. That's exceedingly rare. This is, I think, the first time we've ever done it with an existing game. Yeah. Chad says, how did I find artist Lamaro Smith, and what was it about his artwork that made you approach him for artwork about his game? I looked at a ton of different artists for this game, and Lamaro had done a lot of art set on like beaches and oceans, and that was exactly the look that I wanted, the bright, cheery ocean, water, sky look for Libertalia. That's what drew me to his work. Yeah. Tom says, can I sign up for the Champion program when I pre-order Libertalia? Will I benefit from the Champion shipping for Libertalia then? Yeah, Tom, I would recommend signing up. If you want to wait to sign up to be a champion, if you don't have anything you want to order from us right now, I'd wait until, the last week of February, the 1st of March. Don't wait until after you place the pre-order for Libertalia, because then it won't trigger. You got to do it before you place your pre-order. So do it right before, and it will definitely, you'll definitely get the 20% off the total price that you pay for Libertalia. So if you put it in your cart and I'll throw it a random, this is not the price of Libertalia, but if you put it in the cart and shipping plus the game comes out to $500, you'll get a 20% discount on that. You'll only pay $400. Josh mentioned that there's snow and ice in St. Louis today. What's my favorite game to play on a snow day? Yeah, there is a lot of snow and ice in St. Louis today. And I don't know if I will be playing. I'll be playing Rolling Realms today. So I'll say Rolling Realms because I'm going to be playing that later this afternoon live at 1 o'clock Central Time if you want to join me for that. Okay, I think I need to go now. We're a little bit over time here. I see some more questions here, but maybe save them and let me know these questions in the Design Diary post that I will post in the near future, or the YouTube version of this video, which I'm going to post on YouTube right now. I love the questions. I know I missed a lot today, trying to fit a lot into an hour. I feel like I've been talking nonstop, but I love the curiosity. I love the enthusiasm, and I promise you that all of your questions will be answered in the Design Diary post, and if they're not there, in the comments where you ask me any questions in the coming days. I really look forward to showing you everything that's in this amazing game. At least, yeah, I'm always hesitant to put hyperbole on our games, but I love what has come together for Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, and I look forward to sharing it with you. So have a great day. Oh, I forgot chocolate of the week. Someone very kindly sent me chocolate from this wonderful chocolate maker, Priscilla. So that's going to be my chocolate of the day. I hope you have a treat of the day as well. And I will see you either on YouTube or the Design Diary post in the coming days. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.